All right, and let's move it on. We got the San Francisco 49ers versus the New York Giants in the battle of the injured running backs. San Francisco, they got Ayuk back, but I really think this offense is hurting for Deebo Samuel. Once Samuel comes back, it'll be better. Obviously, Mostert out. The reports I've seen is, MCL. So hopefully it won't be too long. But you got Jerick McKinnon, and this offense will support 2 running backs, especially now as they adjust. Jordan Reed went crazy, but that was predictable considering the matchup and considering George Kittle was out. And then the high ankle sprain for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't love it, but I actually like Mullins as a backup to execute the system. He's been around for a while, so I'm not panicking there. Let me hit you with projections, David. I have quarterback regardless of the Garoppolo injury, regardless if he plays as a sit. Jerick McKinnon is a slam dunk start. Somebody you need to pick up off of waivers right now. At a minimum, he's going to get you 3 weeks of juice. But even after Mostert comes back, if and when that happens, he's still going to have value for him. You need to pick up Jerick McKinnon. That is the slam dunk waiver wire acquisition of the week. At wide receiver for San Francisco, I don't have any of these guys as starts. But I do like tight end this week, regardless of who plays, Kittle or Reed, and probably both of them will have some value for you this week. For the Giants, I like what the team's doing, but Saquon Barkley getting hurt, that's bad. As of the time of this recording, we don't know what's going to happen, but they're working out Devonta Freeman. If he's there, I like Freeman as a waiver wire pickup quite a bit. He fits into this offensive system, but losing Saquon's big, man. I'm a weekly start at this point on Slayton. But I don't really like anybody else except for maybe Golden Tate, and that includes Ingram. I don't like the projection against San Francisco's defense, even though this defense on San Francisco, my gosh, Bosa and Solomon Thomas carted off the field. What a week for San Francisco.
ACL for Bosa, it looks like, too, they said.
You know what, dude? Like, the San Francisco 49ers, the training staff, let me make a suggestion for you. Fish oil and more stretching. Please, for crying out loud. Anyway, take it away, David.
First things first. Prayers up for Raheem Mostert. I'm just hoping that this is nothing serious. Yeah. I heard mild MCL sprain. Still, we're talking about a guy who is just taking off. Hopefully he can come back healthy. If not, you talk about Jerick McKinnon, even Tevin Coleman, the upside is crazy, crazy high. I've been on McKinnon over Coleman since the beginning of the off. Right. Since I heard McKinnon has been back and healthy at training camp. And a lot of it has to do with, I mentioned this, I feel like every episode, Tevin Coleman has not been good for 2 years. He averaged 1.8 yards per carry after contact his last year with Atlanta 2 years ago per attempt. Last year, 1.4 yards after contact per attempt. By comparison, Raheem Mostert was like 3.5 and 2.2 after contact per attempt for the last 2 years. So there was a clear gap between Coleman and Mostert, and that's all Coleman is to me. He's a worse version of Raheem Mostert. He doesn't give this offense anything that they don't already have, unless Raheem Mostert is out. Then he becomes interesting. But you talk about if Raheem Mostert comes back at some point, which I believe he will, Jerick McKinnon is the number 2 back to own in this offense. And he's made it clear, even on limited amount of touches, he's had 6 touches in the first week and only 3 last week. He scored 13 fantasy points in each of those weeks. Are you going to be able to expect a 40-plus yard run and a touchdown every week from McKinnon? No. But context is key here. This guy is coming off of not playing a single game in 2 years. These are his first 2 games back. He's looked good. He's been involved as a receiver. He's scored fantasy points. He was outsnapped by Coleman 32-13 this past week. He still outscored Tevin Coleman on a fantasy basis. He's been doing this without even getting the snaps. Wait till McKinnon starts to get more snaps. They start to work him in more as he gets into his 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th game back from missing 2 years. He's got the receiving upside. He adds an element that they don't have that Raheem Mostert doesn't bring. And then you talk about the schedule. You said you're going to get 3 good weeks at him. He's got the Giants, the Eagles, and Miami the next 3 weeks. Those aren't bad matchups to have as a receiving running back. You talk about the last 3 weeks. He's got Washington, Dallas, and Arizona. So he's got value now. He could have great value in the fantasy playoffs. And you talk about if Raheem Mostert if this injury ends up being serious, he re-injures it. Jerick McKinnon is possibly a league winner this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's available on probably 70% of the waiver wire. Jerick McKinnon is my number 1. You mentioned Coleman. I don't love him either, but Coleman's actually, I think, my number 3-player ranked in terms of waiver wire, just because this offense needs running backs and they'll support it. And when you have the run blocking that San Francisco can have and produces week to week, they'll have value. But I'm with you. I mean, McKinnon is the slam dunk guy. If you miss out on the McKinnon sweepstakes this weekend, then Coleman is a guy you can pick up, and you'll probably get a 10 week to week just based on what this offensive line can do for him and the holes that they'll create. Jordan Howard, I think, has limited time value because of the wide receiver issues. Once Debo's back...
Oh, Jordan Reed?
I meant, Jordan Reed, not Howard. Once Debo's back, things will probably kind of start to settle in. But, Jordan Reed, man, vintage Jordan Reed game. Again,
he's a stash to me.
Yeah, he's a guy you could see it coming, man.
And Shanahan is creative.
Yeah.
And if this team needs to go to 2 tight end sets because the wide receiver room is just either A, unhealthy, B, unproductive, C, settling in, I have faith that he'll do it. He'll continue to involve Jordan Reed, and I could see Jordan Reed playing some snaps from the slot going forward as well. This is a guy who we know has the talent. Jordan Reed's talent's never been in doubt. Now you pair him with a play caller like Kyle Shanahan. I think even when Kittle comes back, let's see what Jordan Reed continues to do. Get him on rosters if you have space. There's no one else to pick up. Let's just see if Jordan Reed can keep this up a little bit.
Yeah, San Francisco schematically is my favorite offense in the NFL. And that I'm talking schematics here. I'm not saying they're the best offense. I just love the play calling. I love a team that can power run and also scheme wide receivers open. Like, you don't have to have talented wide receivers for them to have like a big wide receiver games. And so you add in a talent like Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, and you put those two on the field together. I mean, it can be electricity. I mean, look how banged up San Francisco. Not only are they banged up now, they were banged up all of last year and put that season to. I mean, all of last year they were banged up. This is a well-coached team. It's a great system. Is Kansas City's offense better? Yeah, but they have the talent and they have Patrick Mahomes. So as a unit, I'll take Kansas City. Schematically, San Francisco's just going to put their players in positions to win. I like that. Do you have any thoughts on Slayton before I hit you with the line, David?
I do want to say one thing because we talked about the Houston Texans opening schedule. If anybody rivals a tough opening schedule, it's probably got to be the Giants. They started off with Pittsburgh. Last week they played, who was it? Chicago. And
no, it was,
this week they...
Oh, you're right. My bad.
Pittsburgh, Chicago, and San Fran. Those are 3 tough defenses to start the year off against. So I think with Saquon out, what it looks like for the entire year, I think we're going to have a major buy low opportunity potentially after this week for some of those guys you mentioned. Darius Slayton. I'm hoping he doesn't have a good game this week, so I can go out and buy him after this week, because I think with Barkley, it's going to start to be funneled through Slayton more.
Yeah, I agree.
The offense is going to start. I think all 3 main receiving options, Slayton, Ingram, Shepard, it's all going to start to be funneled through them a little bit more offensively. It's going to become the Daniel Jones show a little bit more than it is the Saquon Barkley show. So, man, let's hope they have a dud this week and we can go out and buy all those Giants receivers.
If you're hurting at quarterback, remember Daniel Jones, he is athletic. He can run the ball. And I agree with you. I think they're going to have to go spread here. I mean, how do you react? Even if you get Devonta Freeman and he comes in and he's pretty good, you're still going to hit him in the passing game. I completely agree. This is how they react. And I think Jason Garrett goes back to the pre-Ezekiel Elliott days when they were kind of funneling through Tony Romo. Now, is Jones as good as Romo? No. But I that's where I see the chips falling, because that's where the talent is with the Giants, between Slayton, Shepard, Tate, and then you got Ingram as well. But let me hit you with the line, David, on this game. San Francisco -4 versus the Giants. Who you got?
I'm gonna take San Fran. I was expecting the Giants to play a little bit better against a good defense. They played all right against Pittsburgh the first week, kind of just took a step back last week against Chicago. So I'll take San Fran in the defense here.
Yeah, the coaching, I don't care if Garoppolo plays or not. I'm going to take San Fran. No disrespect to Giants fans. I just, they're just a really well-coached team. Their defense, let's see. I mean, the key storyline, Mostert, you got the injuries and everything, but the defensive line to lose 2, basically top 3 picks on your defensive line in the first quarter of that game. Now your defensive line rotation thins out. That's the strength. That really is the engine of that team. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think San Francisco covers.